here is the Bible. You might think it's just a really old book with so many words. But in here, there are stories that have been told and retold for thousands of generations. Stories told around campfires, in front of huge crowds. Stories told around the dinner table. Stories that have been made into TV shows or films. Stories that have changed the course of history. Stories you should know. But where should you start? Well, welcome to 10 Must Know Bible Stories. Stories worth exploring.
Well, that was me trying to climb a tree at the weekend, and I couldn't do it. I was useless at it and I didn't like it. It was too hard for me.
Sorry you feel that way, Sue. But you know what? There was lots of difficult things about it. There was branches in your way, lots of obstacles to overcome. Maybe you should just keep trying. Maybe you'll get there one day.
I don't know, Dave. It just felt too hard. I'm not sure I'm going to bother trying again.
Yeah, I do know how you feel. We can all feel that way sometimes, can't we? There's things in life that just seem too difficult, whether it's maths or reading at school. I mean, I know for me, it could be like a practical activity. When I was young, I was really bad at riding my bike. It took me ages to learn how to ride my bike without falling off.
Well, there are some difficult things that go even deeper, aren't there?
Yeah, maybe it's someone in your family that you don't get on with, or even someone at school. It could even be a bully.
Yeah, and bigger things as well that affected us all, like the coronavirus. It felt like lockdown was never going to end.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a word for this kind of thing. Something that seems really difficult, something that we can't get around. It's an obstacle.
An obstacle?
An obstacle is something that hinders one's way or blocks progress.
So an obstacle is something that is difficult for us to get around, something in our life that's maybe too big, something that we can't handle, can't manage on our own.
Something too big and something that's too difficult to manage. I know a great Bible story about that. The obstacle in this story isn't a thing though, it's a big bully.
Today's story from the Bible is the story of David and Goliath. It's really famous, so maybe you've heard it before. But today we're going to tell it with stick figures. So if you like to draw, maybe you could try this at home too. Now our story starts with two armies that are camped out on two hillsides across from each other. And every morning the champion of one army, the Philistines, would come out onto the valley and he would mock and taunt and be mean and say, "Come fight me. If anyone can defeat me, then you've defeated our whole army." He was basically challenging them, which sounds like maybe a good deal, until you realize that their champion, Goliath was his name, was enormous and very scary. The Bible talks all about how much his sword and spear weighed, and he was over 9 feet tall. No one wanted to try and fight him. But you remember this story isn't just about Goliath, it's also about someone named David. And David, well, at this point, he's not even in the camp with the Israelites, the other army. He was at home because he was a shepherd watching his sheep for his father. And one day his father came to him and said, "David, I need you to take some food and some supplies to your brothers," because David had a lot of brothers and they were all in the Israelite camp waiting to fight the Philistines. So David left to take these supplies to his brothers. When he got there, he heard Goliath on the hillside mocking the Israelites, and especially mocking the God of the Israelites, which David wasn't happy with. He went to his brothers and said, "Isn't anyone going to fight this Philistine? Is everyone afraid?" His brothers didn't like that. And they said, "Well, what are you going to do, David? You're too small to fight him." So that's when David decided, well, if no one else will stand up for the Israelites and for God, well, I will. And pretty soon, news spread all around the camp that this boy was willing to face Goliath. The news went all the way to the king, who wanted to see David and hear what he had to say. "Well, I'll fight him," said David, "if no one else will, because God will be on my side. When I'm at home watching my sheep, well, sometimes a bear attacks, or sometimes a lion will attack the sheep, and I never run away. I just use my sling, and I can defeat a bear or a lion that way. And this Goliath, well, he'll be just the same. And most of all, God will be with me, so I'm not afraid." And the king said, "Well, I don't have anyone else, so I guess you can. But before you go out, here, have some of my armor, have my sword, and then you can really face him with all that armor." But it didn't really fit. So Dave said, "No, thank you." And instead, he went to a nearby stream. He picked up 5 smooth stones for his sling, and then he went out to face Goliath in the valley. Well, Goliath thought this was pretty funny, because this was just a young boy coming to face him. But David said, "It's not me who will defeat you. It's God who will defeat you today, because God is with me." And he picked up one of his 5 stones. He slung it at Goliath. And what do you think? It hit Goliath straight in the forehead. He died instantly, before there was much of a fight at all. No one could believe it. The Israelites on the other hillside were ecstatic. They were cheering, and they started to chase the Philistines, whose champion had just died, and they all ran away because they were so afraid. David, even though he was a young boy, became famous. He became so famous, in fact, that one day he would become king of the Israelites.
Wow, that really is an amazing story. David impresses me so much here because he overcame so many obstacles. He didn't have the right armor. His whole family and the whole army were telling him not to go. And Goliath was, 5 times bigger than him?
You're so totally right. Goliath was a huge obstacle for the whole army, not just for David. But David was the only one who had courage to keep going and overcome those obstacles. I wonder why he had so much courage.
Well, he did always talk about how God was going to be by his side, that God was going to be the one helping him defeat Goliath. I think probably God is where he got his courage from.
He knew that God was with him, and that gave him courage. I love this story. It's such a great one, isn't it? Let's have a quiz to see how much we can remember. David and Goliath quiz. Let's do it. Are you ready? Here's what's going to happen. I am going to ask you some questions. The answers are either yes or no. If you think the answer is yes, touch your head. If you think the answer is no, touch your shoulders. So yes or no. Or for something a bit different, if you think the answer is yes, raise your eyebrows as high as you can. So would be yes. And if you think the answer is no, lower your eyebrows as low as you can. So it would be no. I have to crinkle my face at the same time. No. Okay? Or you could try both at the same time. So you would have yes and no. You decide what you're going to do. But here's question number 1. So question 1. This is an easy one to start. Was this story, the story of David and Goliath, a story from the Bible? Was this a story from the Bible? Yes or no? Yes or no? What are you going to go for? It was an easy one, wasn't it? Of course the answer is yes. It was a story from the Bible. Great job. Question 2. Was Goliath, our giant in the story, was Goliath 4 feet tall? Was Goliath 4 feet tall? Yes or no? What do you think? Well, those of you who said no would be right, because the answer, of course, is that he's not 4 feet tall. He was 9 feet tall. Next question, question number 3. Did the Israelites want to fight Goliath? Did the Israelites want to fight Goliath? Were they all like, yes, I'll do it, me, please, let me fight? Did they want to fight him? What do you think? No. Lower those eyebrows. No, they did not want to fight him, did they? They were scared. He was too big an obstacle. But of course, David was willing to take him on. And here's the next question. Were David's brothers happy for him to do it? Did they think he should do it? Yes or no? It's another no, isn't it? David's brothers didn't think he could beat Goliath. They were like, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. But David still did it anyway. Next question. Did David have armour that fitted him? Yes or no? Did David have armour that fitted him? I can't do it in my eyebrows. Make them low. No, he didn't have armour that fitted him. But even though that was a bit of an obstacle for him, he still went out and fought Goliath. Did David know that God was going to help him? Did David know that God was always there and going to help him? Yes, he did, didn't he? David knew he could trust God, and he knew that God would be with him. And he said, I come in the name of the Lord. I come in the name of God to fight you. My God will help me. Did David, nearly finished, 2 questions to go. Did David pick up 3 stones? Did David pick up 3 stones? Yes or no? What do you think? The answer is no, he picked up 5 stones. I'm sure you knew that one. And last question. With God's help, did David beat Goliath? With God's help, did David beat Goliath? What do we think? Of course we think yes. Raise my eyebrows as high as they can go, because we know that David defeated Goliath. He beat him. That stone hit him in the head, knocked him out, and he chopped his head off. With God's help, David beat Goliath. Brilliant job, everybody. Wonder how many you got right. We know now that David was able to overcome all those obstacles, to get past all those tricky bits and to defeat Goliath because he knew that God was on his side. But I wonder who's on our side. Because lots of our friends or our family or people in our lives can help us when things get tricky or difficult. So here is today's challenge. We want you to find 5 stones. Remember, David picked up 5 stones in the story. And have a think about who's there to help you when things get tricky. And write down, or you could draw a picture of them, 1 person on each of your stones. I wonder who you would choose, Dave.
Well, we got some stones up here. For me, one of my stones would have to be my wife, Cherie, because she helps me when I'm feeling sad or when I'm struggling with something. She is someone I can really count on. How about you?
Well, if I was going to write on a stone, I would definitely have my friend Vicky. Whenever I need her, whenever it gets tough, I can just drop her a text message and she will help me, or help me feel better about it.
And I bet, let me guess.
Okay.
One more stone, this is one of mine, but I bet you have the same one. I think we would both say that one of the people we really depend on, rely on, is God. Because as Christians, we believe that whatever we're going through, God is someone that we can trust.
Absolutely. I know that I can ask him for help anytime and he'll always be there. So that's some examples of who we would have on our 5 stones, but that's your challenge, to find 5 stones and to write or draw the person on them, the people that would help you when things get tricky, when there are obstacles in your way.
But with all this talk of obstacles and overcoming our obstacles, Sue, I think it's time for you to try that tree one more time.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, I'll come and help you.
Okay, great, let's go.